So it's about 9 degrees this morning, and I thought I would do a cold start test on the Dodge. And like I explained in another video, I had unplugged my intake air heater or disconnected it because it's a pretty big drag on the electrical system. And in our climate, we generally don't need it here in the South. I mean, maybe once a year, or maybe just a couple, 2 or 3 days a year will it get down to single digits. Well, today is one of those days. So we're going to see how the Dodge responds to it. Well, it took a couple tries. Blowing a little smoke. But it fired right up. So in this ongoing battle with electrical gremlins, this cold snap that came through exposed, or shall I say, resurrected some electrical issues. So, yeah, after the cold start, I never really could get the throttle to act right. It acted like it used to when it was real sluggish and didn't respond well. And you'll notice in that video where I replaced the APPS, TPS, when I went to crank that thing up, I noted that the check engine light, the wait to start light has never really acted right. So after some research, I discovered that, you know, that's a clear sign, or could be a clear sign, that your engine computer is weak or going bad. Now, I don't know if you call it a PCM, ECM, ECU. There's all sorts of acronyms for it. I call it a computer, just, you know, so we're clear. But so a little project today is I have acquired another engine computer from a vehicle that was presumably a good running truck. So I thought I would use that for diagnostic purposes, and if it solves my problem, I have the opportunity to purchase it. A friend of mine has it. And while I'm in here digging around, I'm going to go ahead and replace these negative battery leads, these cables, because when I installed these nice solder-on ends, I saw that there was some minor corrosion when I skint the cable back. The copper wire is corroded on the inside. And it, you know, I skin it back about yay far, trimmed on it. There's a video on that, but I noticed, you know, that green discoloration, the green chalk coming out of there, and I thought, oh boy, I need to replace these. So I'm going to go ahead and replace both of these and the engine computer. And unfortunately, the engine computer on these is bolted to the side of the block down there behind the fuel filter housing. So that ought to be fun. So the passenger side ground bolts to the passenger side of the engine block. If you follow that ratchet handle, that's it right there. And I've got it broke loose. It's kind of in a bad place to get to. But I tell you what, if you enjoy really challenging, hard to get to, hard to reach, if you enjoy busted knuckles and cursing a lot, then this kind of job's for you. I think you'll really get into it. Me, not so much. Passenger side's out. I'm gonna go to Napa and just buy a length of this cable, and I can actually reuse that solder on end. All I got to do is heat it up till the solder melts. It'll slide off, and then solder it back onto the new cable, because that thing's brand new. I just put them on there a few weeks ago. And then I'll need to buy an, ooh, boy, that got me right in the belly. Then I need to buy an eye for this, and if they got the tool, that one's crimped on. I could solder something on there, but if they have the tool to crimp these, I may just get them to crimp the eyes on the new cables. But now I got to get the driver's side off and get up there before they close. The driver's side is a little easier to get to. It's right on the front of the engine. It seems I have quite a knack, or you might even say a talent, for only working on stuff when the parts stores are about to close or they're all closed. It's just, you know, it's just the way I roll. But seriously, it's hard for me to work on projects like this during business hours because I'm doing business during business hours. So I just have to do what I can. You know, we've got O'Reilly and Advance and AutoZone and all that, and they stay open later and weekends and stuff, but they don't carry some of the stuff I need. Like in this case, those solder on ends, you can get the little solder plugs with them, and O'Reilly and them, they don't have that. Napa's the only place in town. They close at like 5, and they're supposed to be open till noon on Saturday, but I don't know, last Saturday they weren't open at all. So it's Friday. It's Friday. I'm scrambling to get over there and get what I need. That way I can get this truck finished this weekend. So these ends are reusable. I'm going to heat that up with my Benzomatic, if there's enough propane left in it. If not, I'm relegated to using my oxyacetylene torch to get it off. You know, I went from having 3 regular size good propane torches to this. This is all I have. I don't know where they went. They absconded. I don't know what happened to them. It goes on kind of the same way. I'm going to use this solder plug. I'll just drop it in there. And there's some leftover solder from before, so I'm going to have to get this pretty hot. And when that solder liquefies, you just push this in on top. This new cable they gave me is really fine compared to the old one. It's a little more fine compared to the old one. And so this is going to be relatively tricky to squeeze it in there without it turning into a chia pet. See, there's not enough room for the cable and all that solder, so the solder will just push out the top. I'm just wanting to make sure I'm all the way in there, like so. And now I'm just going to hold it until that solder sets up. And there's a little bit of frays sticking out there. It's not a big deal. We'll just trim them off. It's not that many. And that's pretty much what you're left with. Alright, so I got my new cables installed. Turned out pretty nice. This one got so hot that the wire insulation split like a banana about 1.5 inches up. So I got some shrink tubing and just kind of dressed it up a little bit, but it turned out okay. So one other thing, this truck has sat here for probably at least 3 weeks, maybe a month, and the batteries were deader than a hammer when I got in it to move it in the shop to work on it today. So that's why I'm out here working in the driveway. Worked my whole life to have a shop big enough to get everything in there so I don't have to work in the driveway anymore. And here we are. So it's getting late. I'm not going to pull that computer right this minute because it's about to get dark. So I'm going to leave this out here tonight and let the batteries charge and get them fully charged, and tomorrow morning I'll come out. So it's the next day and the batteries are charged, so I was able to crank the truck and drive it in the shop. So I'm closer to my tools, so I don't have to make that pilgrimage to my toolbox back and forth all day long. And I'm going to try to pull the computer, and you probably pretty sure you can't even see it, but this truck still has the factory fuel filter housing and the factory style lift pump. It's not the factory lift pump, but it's factory style, so it's all right here. And that kind of blocks your access to the computer. So it may be a fool's errand, but I'm going to try to switch this thing out without having to pull anything. If I pull anything at all, it'll probably end up being the starter. I'll probably come up from the bottom, but you know, I'm going to see if I can reach back there and get it done. If I become enraged from busted knuckles, I'll go ahead and drop the starter. But let's see how it goes. So I was told the plug that goes into the computer is held in with a 4mm Allen bolt. I can't see down there well enough to confirm, but I got that ready, and then there should be 3 10mm bolts that hold the computer to the block. So let me see if I can show you what I'm doing here. The bottom bolt is one of the 3 10mm. I can't get a socket on it because this massive wire harness is in the way. So I'm using a end wrench to get in there and grab that. They were really tight. The other two I'm able to use a ratchet on with a long extension. I can come out here with my ratchet and kind of the same deal on the back. As for the plug, I cannot get an Allen wrench in there and get enough leverage on it to get that plug out with it bolted to the block. So what I'm attempting to do is unbolt the computer. You don't have much wire lead to readjust it, but I can tilt the plug down toward the ground a little more, and then I can get in there with an extension and a ratchet and undo the Allen bolt, and then finagle the computer out of there. Finally got the thing out. It was a chore, but it is doable without removing anything else off the truck. I lost the 10mm bolt that went in here. It fell. Didn't hear it hit the floor. I have searched all over the truck. I used a magnet. I've used a mirror. Can't find it. Gave up on it. Fortunately, I was in the motorcycle salvage business for a long time, so I have an abundance of metric bolts. So I found a replacement. So anyway, this computer is the one that come out of the truck, and it has been rebuilt before. There's a warranty tag on it. It's been sandblasted. It's also, I don't know if it'll show up, but there's a sizable dent right there in the housing, and that's possibly, see, there's fuel lines, right, hard fuel lines right here. When you go to take this thing out, you have to kind of jockey it around, and it's possible somebody lost their patience and got into it right there and dented it. I didn't do that. I did lose my patience, but I did not dent the computer. So I don't know when that was done, or as far as when they were removing it to send it off to get it rebuilt, or putting it back in and possibly damaging the internals. I don't know. But this is the replacement I have. It's a little bit newer. They're both for 99s, but the build date on this one is a little bit newer. If I'm reading that right. Yeah. March 31st of 99 versus this one's almost unreadable, but it's I believe actually says 98 on it, probably late 98. The ECM code is unreadable, but I can still read this one pretty good. I don't see any visual red flags with this one as far as a dented case or something looking like it got too hot. The plug looks good. So I've got it up in there, got it plugged in. I've only got one bolt in it though. Man, it's tough to get to them bolts, but it's good enough to test. So batteries hooked back up. Jump in here and let's just see what it does. Oh wow. Wait, start light came on immediately and went off, and the lift pump primed. Runs. Seems to be running smooth. Wow. Good throttle response. Excellent. That is phenomenal. Now, I'm not going to drive it until I can finish bolting the computer down. But that's good news. I'm excited about that. Okay, I'm going to get this computer bolted down and then we'll take it for a rip. Well, so far it's driving absolutely perfect. Everything's running good. It's shifting good. We're about pretty much up to operating temp. But yeah, I'm very happy with this. This truck's really comfortable to drive now that it's all lined out. So anyway, I'm gonna head back to the foundry. Got a lot of things to do, get caught up on a few things before the work week starts. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit the like button and feel free to subscribe, because there will be more truck content and other content coming up pretty quick. So y'all have a good one. I'll see you in the next one.